Sorry about that. I got a little deterred there because somebody started hitting our ceiling, even though I'm the only one talking in the apartment. I'm not talking overly loud either. Somebody is going around like screaming in the building, so I don't know what the hell's going on. Anyways, without that sense of language and without that sense of support and that sense of like talking about it in the society, I think that that's really, really hard for people to come out, and I don't think it's just like an adult thing. And I think a lot of people are like, all those damn millennials, they're coming out in their adult years because they didn't feel special growing up. And it's like, well, maybe that means that they were feeling something kind of repressed in their childhood. I know that I was aware of the fact that I was gender neutral for, it started when I was about 4 or 5. Like, I just felt like a draw to masculine things, a draw to feminine things. I had a little bit of mix of both. I talked about this a little bit in my other video as well, but I figured I would just kind of recap on it just to kind of get that out there on Facebook. So I never really felt that way. And, a lot of the speech that you hear on television and, like, raunchy TV shows and, on the old MTV, like, I would hear a lot of people that I was close to growing up who were just like, oh, those are nasty hermaphrodites and those are, nasty transvestites and all these other things that I was like, well, what happens when you don't really feel like either one? Like, what happens when you don't feel like just a boy or just a girl? I think a lot of the misunderstanding and the devotion to misunderstanding is kind of contributing to a lot of kids having some mental issues, and they're really struggling with coming out and accepting their identities. They stop setting boundaries for their bodies because they don't feel like their body type is inherently respected, and I find that your body type is going to gauge in society how people treat you too. So if you do have a female body, people are going to treat you maybe a little more differently, maybe a little bit more condescending, or people try to go out of their way to be nice or whatever it happens to be. If you do have a male body, people are like, oh, hey, what's up, man? And it's like super, super gendered. But I think that you should treat everybody the same, and we also cannot forget the fact that there are not just two sexes either. That's just like not even an argument anymore. It's just science. There are intersex people, and I would highly recommend like doing research on some of this stuff in your own time as well. Maybe taking some notes, maybe asking some people. Like, I personally don't know any intersex people. Or at least it's not my business to know. People aren't always going to be comfortable talking about that because it is their body, it is their genitalia sometimes. And it does not equal non-binary either. Let's just get that out there. But anyways, a lot of people are like, I don't have time to gather up all these terms. I don't have time to listen to all of these terms. I don't have... it's not my problem to get to know what everybody's gender is, but there are so many genders around the world. It's not just Western. It's not just like on the rise in Western society. It's also coming up and been coming up for a really long time all across the globe, and different parts of Asia. People were viewed as like priests or priestesses or holy beings. They have an entire community, I believe, in India, which is part of Asia too, by the way. Let's just get that out there. I mean, also I did a little research as well that if you were indigenous, that two-spirit is a word used for indigenous folks specifically, regarding the wide variety of gender. But of course, don't use that if you're not indigenous. That's not for us. It's not for non-natives. But there are so many terms that have been created for it now because we're just now starting to come on the rise, with transgender coming up and people finally talking about how fluid they feel, or if they don't feel like either one, they just don't feel like they fit in on that spectrum. They're finally starting to talk about it. So they're creating a language because the concept and being non-binary has always been there, but they have never had the term for it. People my age didn't have terms for it or they weren't able to talk about it with people because of the shame surrounding that. Let's see. I actually wrote notes on this today because I was incredibly frustrated and I already couldn't sleep as it is. So I figured I would just get up and talk about something that was important to me. It's really, really cool. Facebook has a lot of different gender options now as well. They have about, I think, 50 now. Some of them are a little bit more like specific, like some of them will say, oh, I feel transgender, but then you can go under the option like MTF or FTM, things like that. They do have Two-Spirit for Native folks. They have gender fluid, neither. They go into cisgender just a little bit. Honestly, and people are like, well, I'm so sick of labels. I'm so sick of people putting labels on that. But it was such a relief for me to be able to find other people who felt the same way. And when they finally did start talking about, hey, there's non-binary, hey, there's agender, hey, there's gender fluid, hey, there's bigender, there's all different kinds of stuff, it was like, oh my God, there's a word for it. I relate to that. And I'm not saying that my life revolves around this label, because at the end of the day, it's what's behind the label. Like, I know who I am and I know what I feel, and my sense of empowerment with that, and my identity, and how I treat my body, and how other people treat me. And I think labels are a great way to find a sense of community and a sense of coming out and talking to people who don't understand it. It's literally not, people are like, well, why can't you just be yourself? Well, it's nice to have a title to back up a general concept of who I am. So if I sit there and I tell you, hey, I'm agender, I can go into further depth and go, I don't really feel like either one. I have my splashes of masculine some days, my splashes of feminine, just depending on how I feel in the day and how I feel around certain people. You know, my body language is going to differ depending on the people I'm around and who I'm comfortable with, and sharing all of those parts of myself with. Suddenly very thirsty. But when I finally was able to discover that label, I was so happy because I felt included in something. A. B. I found a furthering sense of self-discovery. I felt like I was finally able to go, that's me. That's who I am. And it's been a process, and I think that there's a lot of shame surrounding exploration too. I think people should be able to go into that and explore, are you masculine, are you feminine, are you, androgynous, do you feel like both, do you feel like neither one completely? There's such a broad spectrum of human feeling and human gender, and when you finally get to talking about that, it's so incredible. And the more you talk about it, and the more you get rid of those misconceptions, and the more you put out the truth about your being, the less people can twist that. And I feel like when they start to see, oh, a human being is talking about this. A human being is referring to themselves as non-binary. It's not just some kid sitting behind a computer like, oh, I'm not paid attention to, I'm a special snowflake. It's not like that. We're real people out here. We're real, living real lives and going to work and going to school and college and having kids. And it is such a wide spectrum for us. And you have to, you have to be at least somewhat involved or aware, because if you say, oh, that doesn't exist, or, oh, you're a special snowflake, what are you putting out there for the children of the future? We're trying to uplift people. We're trying to bring everybody together. We're just trying to understand everybody. So if you're sitting there saying, oh, they're nasty people, or, oh, they're special snowflakes who have, mommy daddy issues and stuff like that, what if your kid ends up being LGBT? What if your kid ends up being non-binary or trans or gay or lesbian or anything? Bi? What happens if your kid overhears you talking about that? What example are you setting for them? Because you can't change who you are at the core. You can explore that. You can try new things. You can try, different terms, different pronouns, different names, and see how you feel. Am I more masculine? Am I more feminine? But at the end of the day, if you bring shame and hate speech and negligence to do your research into your household, and you don't ask questions, and you don't put forth any effort, what if your kid ends up being LGBT and grows up listening to that? Because I grew up thinking that people like me were nasty, and that they were just sexually deviant, and that they were just trying to put themselves out there to gain attention, and that they were just this crazy anomaly. But I was real, and I was valid, and I knew how I felt, and I faced a lot of shame for talking about it with friends growing up in my childhood. I would tell them about it in passing, casually. If I talked to a grown-up about it, there was just so much shame. There was no language, and they were like, well, you can't be that way. That's just not how that is. But the feeling never went away. I've known since I was 4 or 5 years old that I just don't fit in either way. My clothing style and my hairstyle has always been a little bit crazy, a little bit jumbled, a little bit of blend of both. But when you bring that kind of, I understand if you don't know about it or you don't understand about it, but, if your kid comes to you and asks questions like I did, it was, well, let me do your research, let me talk about this, let me go ask somebody. And, the World Wide Web and iPhones and Androids and all kinds of smartphones, the world of information is literally at your fingertips, and you could be asking a question, you could be talking to somebody, you could reach out to specific groups, hey, I know that I'm not part of the group, but I really want to spread the correct information, and my child might be questioning, or my child just genuinely wants to know about people in the world. And the more you get to talking about that, and the more research you do, and the more you talk to other people about that, and be an ally, and call people on their garbage, because there's so much garbage. But if you call them on it, and you talk positively in that way, and you try to understand it the best that you can, your kid's not going to grow up feeling unloved or disgusting or they're making shit up for attention, because it's not. It's real. It's been real for a very long time. It's just more recently surfaced because we want to be included in that. Penny, hush. Penny, hush. Yeah. But anyways, I just ended up going on a little bit of a tangent today. I felt confident enough to make a video today. I'm feeling a little bit not dysphoric today, so I felt pretty good about showing my face and talking in the voice that I feel comfortable with, and getting out there to my loved ones and all the people who are on my friends list, because there's so much support. I'm friends and family with so many people who genuinely support me, and I understand that it's uncomfortable because it's new. I'm not going to sit there and lie to you and say, you just gotta understand me right now. I get it. It's a new concept. I've always been this way, but I'm just now learning language about things. I'm just now learning about some of the other identities out there. I'm just now learning about a whole bunch of stuff, and the more you get to know the community, the less misconception you have, the less bullshit you're gonna spread. So I'm personally not bisexual, but I have plenty of bisexual friends who have shared the misconceptions about it, hey, it's not like this, or it's like this, and you have to listen to the person who's talking to you, who actually is a part of that, who is that. You have to listen to that. Clearly that's their experience, and it matches up with other human beings, and it's not going to be the same for everybody, no matter who you are. But at the end of the day, when you make the effort to try, if you don't, you lose friends, you lose family, you get cut off. And your kids, especially so if you have kids or younger people in your family, they're going to grow up feeling unloved and unappreciated. So get out there, show your friends and family members some appreciation for this Pride Month. Do your research, ask lots of questions. There's absolutely no shame in not understanding. You can even tell them, hey, I don't fully understand, it's pretty new for me, let's sit down, let's go out for coffee, let's go out for lunch, let's sit down at a dinner, just you and me, one-on-one, or hey, let's talk in a group. However you feel comfortable, just communicate, because the more you talk about it, the less mystified it's going to be. The more information that gets out there, the more people start to go, okay, well, you know what, that's you, and I don't have to feel that way, and I don't have to identify that way, but you do. So let's work on respecting your body and your identity and your expression. I am very sorry I ended up going on quite a bit of a tangent. I hope that this has been, I don't know if I would necessarily call it helpful, but I've been wanting to put my opinion out there for a little while. So I hope that this helps. And I love y'all, and I hope that you have a great Pride Month. And we will probably be uploading more videos soon as well. Lyric and I, both probably on Facebook Live and YouTube as well. So, but I love y'all. Peace out. Have a great day. And we will see you next time.